Welcome to the Lovestead.
Hello! Welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica and this is my weekly reading vlog. Good to see you. It is a Monday, October 18th, and let me just go through what I'm reading. It's kind of a lot. Alright, first I am reading One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. This is book 2 in the One of Us Is Lying series. I read One of Us Is Lying in August, I want to say, and I really enjoyed it. I am 136 pages through this one so far. I like it. I like the plot. The only complaint that I have is the number of characters. There are so many characters that I'm having to keep track of, and I'm having a hard time remembering who is who. So the characters from the first book are all in this one, including some of like the more obscure, maybe not obscure, but some of the lesser roles from the first book are in this book. And then there's a whole new cast of characters as well, like the second generation. And it's just a lot to keep track of. So I would like it better if she had some reminders in there of who these people were as we're going along. Like if she said, Sean, the jerk from lunch, right? So yeah, that is my only complaint about this one so far, is just how difficult it is to keep track of all of the characters. Next on audiobook, I am reading Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. It is the first book in the Brown Sisters trilogy. And in this book, Chloe Brown is almost hit by a car, and she has that moment where like her life flashes before her eyes. So she makes a list called the Get a Life, Chloe Brown list of things that she wants to do before she dies. And I feel like this is so like talked about on booktube that I don't really need to go much further into detail than that. I am not very far into this book. I'm like 12% into it. So hopefully I'll have more thoughts as I get deeper into the story. I'm also reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I was buddy reading this with a friend of mine, and she decided to DNF it because it just wasn't for her, which is totally fine. I am not very far into it. I'm 38 pages into it, and I do plan on just kind of setting this aside for now so that I can prioritize some other books that I am reading. I am also reading Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. And this is a story about Tristan, who is a boxer. He totally screws up his first match, loses it, feels really bad. He's also recently lost his best friend Eddie in an accident, and his parents have decided to send him to stay with his grandparents on their farm in Alabama for the summer. The first night he gets to the farm, all kinds of crazy things happen. It's a lot of like, it's a portal fantasy basically. It felt a lot like Alice in Wonderland, how he goes down through a tree. Basically he follows this doll called Gum Baby, and part of it is because he has his best friend Eddie's journal, and Eddie's journal has been glowing green, and so there's something weird going on with the journal. So in the middle of the night, this doll, this wooden doll called Gum Baby, climbs through his window and steals the journal. So Tristan is like chasing the doll, trying to get the journal back, and they end up going like under this tree into a whole new world. So like a portal fantasy, and it's really based on a lot of African and African American folk tales, which is pretty cool. And so far I'm really liking this. This has gotten a lot of criticism from people, and I'm not sure where that criticism is coming from just yet, because I am enjoying it. I'm about 37% through it. I'm also reading What If Jesus Was Serious by Skye Jethani. This is a book that I picked up because my church is doing a read-along of it. I am 100 pages in, and so far I really like it. I feel like I'm getting a lot out of it, and if you're of the Christian persuasion, I do recommend this. So that is what I'm reading. I think I covered everything. Yep. And this week, I'm trying to think, do I have a lot going on this week? I don't know that I have a lot going on this week. I have a lot of work to do, which is normal. And then I think this weekend I'm going to go tack shopping for my horse. And for those of you who aren't horsey people or horse lovers, whatever, tack for a horse, tack for a horse would be things like saddle, bridle, saddle pad, that kind of thing. I have none of that, so I've been trying to find some used because that's more affordable, but it's hard to get tack because the saddle that you get has to fit you and it has to fit the horse. So it's like this weird combination of measurements that you're looking for. And I think I have found one, but it's like a 3.5 hour drive from here for me to pick it up. But another cool thing about it is it's this woman who's cleaning out her tack room. So she's got other stuff. She's got like bridles and headstalls and other stuff that she might be able to sell me for one package deal. So that is what I'm doing this weekend, taking a long road trip to get some gently used affordable tack for my horse. Otherwise, I don't really know what I'm going to do throughout the week. Just have to stay tuned and find out. It is Wednesday and I have a quick reading check-in for you. Today I finished Get a Life Chloe Brown and it was so good. So good. I loved this book. Once I got into it, like I couldn't put it down. Like it was so good. Talia Hibbert did an amazing job of illustrating what it is like to live with chronic pain. The character of Chloe, like she is perfection. And it's not just like the actual physical symptoms of living with chronic pain, but the social issues that come with chronic pain. She talks about how Chloe lost like all of her friends when she developed or was diagnosed with her chronic illness, which is fibromyalgia. How like her friends basically ditched her because it became too much work to like do things with Chloe that was accommodating to what her new needs were. Her fiance left her. Like people just treated her like disposable because of her condition, and so she just basically shut down and stopped letting people in because it became too painful to try to make a new friend only to have them ditch you because you have a chronic condition that you can't control. And like, oh my goodness, I related to that. All of her insecurities about, you know, will people actually stick this out with me? Am I a burden to them? Is needing help going to just wear them down eventually so they just leave? And like that is just such a good example and illustration of the psychological impact that living with a chronic health condition or chronic pain can take on a person. And I have absolutely experienced that myself, of just the flight of people that leave your life when you finally start taking care of your chronic symptoms. Like I lost most people in my own life when I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And even to this day, I only have a handful. Like I can count on this hand, like how many real friends that I have who have stuck with me and who bother to check in with me. Right? So it was just so good. It was such a good example of that struggle of feeling like a burden and feeling like because of your chronic health condition, you're not worthy of love and you're not worthy of romance and you're not worthy of these things that come just more naturally to people who don't live with chronic pain. That was so good. And then I also really loved Red, and I loved how I love a vulnerable guy. Like, I love a male hero who is kind of big, brawny, but vulnerable. And like, I loved the way Red was willing to work through his own crap to become a better person so that he could become a better partner to Chloe. I loved his honesty with himself and with her. And like, I just loved him. Like, I loved how considerate he was of her needs, how he believed her when she said she was hurting, how he was so cued into her that he could see like the slightest change in her expression and know that, oh, she's having a pain flare. Like, I wish this for every person who has a chronic illness, to find a partner like Red. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I wish that you find a partner like Red. And it's one of my new all-time favorite books. 5 stars out of 5, hands down. Reading this story met a social need for me that I don't get, you know, in my actual life. It fulfills something in me, and I just absolutely need a copy of it. So yeah, it's going on my list of all-time favorite books. And I didn't see that coming. Like, I knew that it would be good because I've seen lots of people say that the chronic pain representation was really good. I did not expect it to be that good and to like hit me at such a deep level. So if you haven't read this, please do. I'm making progress on One of Us Is Next by Karen and McManus. I am on page 254 of 370-ish pages. And I am enjoying this one. I have no idea who the bad guy is in this. I have no idea. And I think it's because there's so many characters. Like, I can't even keep the characters straight in my head to know who the suspect would be. I don't know if that was her intention or not, but like, that's what's happening for me. Like, there's too many people to even keep track of, to even know who I would think is the bad guy in this book. I have no idea how it's going to end. I am really worried about Maeve, and if you've read this book, you will know why I'm really worried about Maeve. Maeve is my favorite character, and I'm so worried about her. So we finally have had the death, the person who was, you know, at the very beginning of the book, we get a teaser that somebody at Bayview dies, but we don't know until like page 250 who it is that dies. And so we have finally found out who that person is. And now, because I didn't expect that person to be the one who died. I thought that this other person was going to be the one who died. And it turned out to be someone else. And now I'm just scratching my head because I'm like, where is she going with this? And what's happening is there is a copycat, like Simon from book 1. If you've read Simon, he's basically a cyber bully. He or she is, or they are basically a cyber bully. And what they're doing is playing like this really nasty game of cyber truth or dare with the students at Bayview. So they'll pick a person and they'll be like, okay, it's your turn. Do you pick truth or dare? And sometimes the kids will pick a dare and then they'll get dared to do something really outlandish. Or they'll pick a truth and then the character will reveal something really humiliating about that person to everybody on the text message list. It's like everybody at Bayview High. And that really reeks of Pretty Little Liars to me. You know how in Pretty Little Liars, A asks the girls to do all this different stuff, otherwise A will reveal XYZ about something they've done to the police or whatever. And so that, when was this? This was published in 2020, wasn't it? 2020. So it's published in 2020, which is well after Pretty Little Liars wrapped up. It just feels a little bit copycat-y to me. I mean, they are, Karen McManus is making it her own story. It's not exactly the same, but like that foundation is the same. The cyber bully who says, do this or I reveal that. That is what happens in Pretty Little Liars, and that's pretty much what's happening in this book. So, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't always dislike when someone takes the theme and reworks it. I don't always dislike that. I don't know if I dislike it in this one, though. Sometimes I think it works. Sometimes I think a writer can take a theme and make it their own and make it better, or more interesting, or really make it their unique twist on whatever that theme is. I don't know if she's doing that very well in this book. But I don't know. I also just have no clue what's going to happen or where it's going. So I think I'll have a better feel for what I end up thinking about that when I finish it. That's my reading update. I do have a project that I'm working on this week. I decided I'm going to work on repotting and just tending to all of my houseplants, because the next area of my house that I really want to deep clean and declutter and all of that is my kitchen and dining room. And part of what's causing some clutter in my dining room is just like houseplant stuff that I've had set out that I just need to take care of. So this week I'm going to take care of some houseplant chores. And then this weekend I am going to take a road trip to buy some tack for my horse. So that is what's going on. Yesterday, Brandon and I went apple picking at my friend's house. She has an apple tree and they can't like use up all the apples, just her family. So she let us come out and pick some apples, which is great because it crosses that off of our fall bucket list. What other updates can I share with you? So a couple weeks ago, I shared that I was getting a phototherapy lamp to help with my delayed sleep phase disorder. And so far I do think it's helping, actually, and I don't think it's just a placebo, because you know what you do with this phototherapy process is you wake up half an hour early, and as soon as you open your eyes you turn on the lamp and you like look into the lamp to really get that light therapy like as soon as you wake up. And I'm finding that as I'm going through this process, after enough days of waking up at a certain time, like let's say I get up at 8 and I move it back to 7:30, after like 4 or 5 days of getting up at 7:30, then I will naturally start to just wake up at 7:30. So I do think it is adjusting my circadian rhythm, which I am so thankful for. I hope that it continues to work, so that it gets me to where I want to be with my schedule and my sleep schedule. So that is exciting. Goldfish update. A couple of vlogs ago I mentioned that my goldfish were not doing well. There's 4 of them that still are not doing well, but they're hanging in there. The rest of them are totally back to normal, but I still have 4 that I'm having to feed medicated food and treat for whatever it was that happened 2 weeks ago with our water system. And I mean, I still don't know what caused it. I lost a second fish, so I had lost 1 fish 2 weeks ago, and then last week I did lose a second fish. And then I have 4 that aren't doing very well, but the rest are back to normal. So that's the goldfish update. Is there anything else hanging over from previous vlogs I need to update you on? I can't think of anything right now. But there's more days in the week if I do think of something. It is Friday, October 22nd. Sorry if you're hearing my washer and dryer in the background. Yesterday, I finished One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. I don't have the book with me. It's downstairs. I really liked this book. Through this whole book, I just had no clue who the bad guy was. I had no clue. And the way that it all came together in the end was fantastic. I also thought it was a little bit convenient, the way it came together. Like, the kids were able to figure out who the bad guy was and put all the clues together and put the pieces together, and it did feel a little convenient how they were able to do that. Like, things just kind of fell into place for them. But I think that for a YA, that works just fine. I really liked Maeve. Like, Maeve was my favorite character in this book. She's so smart, and like, she's been through so much, and I'm glad that she got her happy ending. I was pretty immersed in the story throughout. I feel like it could have been wrapped up a little bit more quickly. Like, there was a lot of time after the conclusion of like the whodunit. There was a lot of time spent like wrapping up every single character, and I felt like that could have been done a little bit more quickly. But I do like how things turned out for each of the characters. I am curious to know where it's going to pick up in the next installment, which is One of Us Is, what's it called? I remember the title was kind of like, One of Us Is Back, I think is what it's called. I guess not the only criticism. My biggest criticism, I'm going to rate this book a 4 out of 5 stars. My biggest criticism with it, again, was just the amount of characters. The number of characters was pretty unnecessary. I feel like she could have cut out like a third of them and it would not have affected the story at all. Like, for example, at Eli's law office, we're introduced to Sandeep and then like 2 other people who work in the law office with Knox. And like, that's just too much, and it didn't serve a purpose to have that many characters in the law office that we then had to keep track of. So like, that could have easily just been Eli and Sandeep, and it wouldn't have affected the story whatsoever. So I hope that, you know, in the next book there's more careful editing around the characters and why they're there and what role they play in the actual plot and development of the story. So 4 stars out of 5 for that one. I am probably going to finish Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky today. And after I finish that, I really don't know what I want to pick up and read in terms of fiction. I've got a couple nonfictions I'm working on. One is the What If Jesus Was Serious book, which is, I've talked about that I think already in this blog. And then last night on Kindle Unlimited I picked up How to Speak Chicken by Melissa Coffey, and I like that one so far, but it's only because I have chickens. I don't know that it's going to be super interesting to you all for me to talk about that one. But for fiction, I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I'm basically mood reading my way through October, November, December, because I've already met my reading goal for the year of 100 books. So it's just whatever I want to read, I'm going to read, and I'm not going to worry about numbers or anything like that, or goals or anything like that. That just leaves the door so wide open that I have choice paralysis now, and I don't know what I want to read. I think what I'm going to do is take a look at my bookshelves. Brandon and I are going to run some errands here this afternoon. So before we do that, I'm just going to take a look at my bookshelves and see what I have on my shelf that I still need to read. And then if none of that like fits my fancy, maybe go to the library, see what they have there. And I don't know, how do you all figure out what you want to read next when there's like so many good options? I just don't even know what I want to pick next. And I find myself like checking things out on my Kindle from Overdrive and from Hoopla and from Kindle Unlimited, like checking something out and then returning it right away because I'm like, not really in the mood for that after all. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to end up picking up. It's going to be a surprise for even me. So this weekend, so it is Friday today, Brandon and I are going to run some errands. We'll probably tend to the chickens. I need to go groom my horse. My horse lessons actually got canceled today because the trainer that I work with is having some health struggles, and so I still want to go out because I miss my pony. So I still want to go out and just like groom her and spend some time with her, even though we won't have like a full-on lesson. So we're going to tend to the chickens, we'll go out to the ponies, maybe hit the library. I think we might buy some pumpkins to do some pumpkin carving. And then tomorrow I'm taking a road trip across the state to buy some tack for my horse. So those are my weekend plans. You know, on top of that stuff, I just have a lot of work to do yet. I'll probably be working every day through the weekend on things here and there. I'm going to continue working on my house plants, getting them all squared away for the winter. And yeah, that's why do I always end every check-in this way? That's the plan. Good morning. It is Monday morning, October the 25th, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the vlog. So this weekend, Friday, I did go out and groom my pony. There were a lot of people out there, so I didn't get any video footage. I didn't want to risk like videoing someone without their permission, right? But yeah, I got my pony groomed, and then Saturday I drove quite a ways, for a little mini road trip to pick up tack for my horse. And I got a lot of great stuff. I showed you in the clips, but I got a saddle pad, cinch, bridle, bit, reins, and saddle stand for less than $200, and it's all in pretty good condition. I think the saddle needs like new billets and a new latigo, and the bridle leather needs a little bit of TLC, but aside from that, it's in really good condition. That pretty much took all day Saturday, and then I just kind of chilled, and I picked up my next book that I want to read for fiction, which is Night Broken by Patricia Briggs. And then yesterday, Sunday, I had to just catch up on work stuff that I didn't do on Saturday, and so I basically worked all day and until 2 a.m. last night. Feeling it today, but we've got some iced coffee. We're gonna be fine. Let's go through what I read this week. So on audiobook, I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. Loved it. I actually purchased a copy. It is on its way, and as soon as it gets here, I'm probably going to start rereading it. And I gave it 5 stars. It actually made an all-time favorites list for me. So that is awesome. I never would have thought before joining BookTube that a contemporary romance could ever make one of my all-time favorite books, but it did. It is being added to the list. Next, I read One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. I don't have the book with me. I returned it to the library, but I really enjoyed this one. Gave it 4 stars out of 5. On audiobook, I finished Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. There are some pacing issues with that one, but overall I really enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars out of 5. It's been a good reading week. My goodness. I've been working on What If Jesus Was Serious by Skye Jethani, which is Christian nonfiction. I'm reading as part of a read-along with my church. Now, interestingly, on my Instagram poll, I did get a question for this week's vlog. The question was, you're a homesteader, but are you a prepper? So preppers, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, they're like doomsday preppers, and they're folks who put away lots of food and supplies and stuff on their shelves so that should something happen like the apocalypse, they would be able to survive. And no, I am not a prepper. Do I have supplies in my home? Yeah, for up to like 2 weeks, because that's what even the CDC recommends, you know, for emergency preparedness is up to 2 weeks worth of supplies. So I have that, but I'm not a prepper, and I don't jive with prepper mentality. I think prepper mentality, it functions on fear and it functions on self-preservation over community. I'm much more for community health and community support, because like when you think about it, if you're a prepper and you've got all this stuff but your neighbors are struggling and they don't have stuff but they know that you do, you're not going to have stuff anymore, because like everybody's going to come to you and get what they need, whether it's nicely or by force. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Prepper lifestyle doesn't make sense to me. Community health makes sense to me. So if I know everybody in my community, even if I think of community as just my local neighborhood, if I know everybody in my community is good, then I'm going to be good too. But if I'm the only one in the community is good, I'm not really good, you know? I would rather give my neighbor 5 of my tomato seeds so that she can grow hundreds of her tomatoes than have all of those tomato seeds to myself for my own self, right? So that's just my stance on that. I don't homestead because I want to prepare for the end of the world. I also don't function in a fear-based mindset either. I think that preppers really function on this idea that like the end of the world could be tomorrow. Economic collapse of the country could be tomorrow. There is some truth in that, but it also just means you're constantly living in fear and functioning and making decisions based on fear, and that is not who I want to be. So the reason I bring that up, and the reason I thought it was an interesting question that was asked this week, is because I just read the other day in this book a passage that kind of connects to that and kind of also foments what I feel about this concept of like community health over individual preparedness. So on page 116, this little chapter here, they're talking about scarcity and scarcity mindset. So I'll just read a passage here. It says, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus makes the same connection between the myth of scarcity and the reality of abundance in God's kingdom. If we live in constant fear of not having enough, it will lead us to greed and injustice in the name of self-preservation. If, however, we believe Jesus and trust that with God there is always an abundance, then we can be set free from a self-centered posture and be empowered to truly love others. That kind of sets the foundation for why, like, I'm not a prepper. Okay, so I'm continuing to read this book. What other books did I pick up? Oh yeah, I picked up on Kindle Unlimited How to Speak Chicken by Melissa Coffee. And I've only read a couple pages of that, but it's a really short book. It's only like 150 some pages. And it's interesting. She actually speaks chicken to her chickens, which I'll talk more about that in a future vlog when I actually get deeper into the book. And I also picked up Night Broken by Patricia Briggs. I was so happy. I bought this book secondhand for $1. And when I opened it up on last night, was it last night? Maybe it was Friday or Saturday. When I opened it up, I saw it's actually a signed copy. So I got a signed copy of the book for $1 secondhand. That's pretty exciting. I am only 70 some pages into this one, so I will hold off on talking about it until the next vlog. All right, that'll do it for this week. So I will wrap things up here. Thank you for coming along. If you want to let me know that you're here in the comments down below, leave any sort of plant related emoji. And until next time, make sure to continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other.